And that game perfectly illustrated why I just want this season to come to an end. Please, football gods, put Chelsea out of their misery and end the season immediately. Chelsea travel to the Bernabeu in the Champions League and lose 2-0. Let's get into it.
And blue is the colour.
Greetings! Welcome back to Couch Critic with me, Dennis P, for what is your Chelsea match review, but more specifically, a tactical synopsis of Chelsea's performance in the Champions League versus Real Madrid. But before I get into all that, you know what we need you to do. We need you to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification button if you haven't already. We are trying to grow this channel, and every like goes a long way to ensuring that we can do that. It'll help me and it'll help my sponsors who go by the name of Major League Socks. Fellas, if you ever want to walk in the footsteps of greatness, you know what to do. Hit them up. The link will be in the description. Guys, I don't know what we were thinking coming into this game. I wasn't really expecting much. I mean, this entire season has just been a complete write-off. Chelsea just have not found any semblance of form, and going to the Bernabeu, what we're expecting and what I was hoping for is this: Chelsea just keep it tight, keep themselves in the match, keep themselves in the tie going back to Stamford Bridge, and maybe just hope and pray that we can find a result there. But today was a perfect example of what has been going on wrong with this season. Just Chelsea unable to take any of the chances that they created, and individual errors leading to big costly mistakes. And again, that's just indicative of a young team, and this is exactly what we have right now. We just don't have a lot of veteran leadership. We have a very young squad, as I said, and the veterans that we had on the pitch today just did not do enough to see us over the line. We had a lot of poor performances today, a lot of them, unfortunately. And I think it came down to just how we decided to play the game. But again, for the most part, I think the game plan was spot on. I think that everyone and their mother was hoping that Chelsea were going to be playing with a back three, which is not something that Frank normally deploys. But in this particular match, that we had to do it. We had to be solid at the back, soak up pressure, and then try to hit them on the break, which we had opportunities to do in the first half in particular and just did not take them. And I was actually quite pleased with the first half performance. I thought that the back three made a lot of sense. It took away a lot of the spaces. The only thing that was missing was just the energy and verve. I don't think that we tried to really put them under pressure. They were able to control the ball without having any real pressure. Chelsea just basically set up a 5-3-2 and really just stayed in their base shape. Did not look to spring any traps to press or whatnot. And, we basically just invited them onto us and hoped for them to make the individual errors to spring us on the counters. And for the most part, the first half I thought that worked, but as we moved into the second half and we were looking for a goal after, conceding a poor one in the first half to Benzema, I don't think that the game plan played out as well as it could have, because now that you're chasing the game, you need the ball. And in order to get the ball, you need to be pressing, you need to be winning tackles, you need to be razor sharp. And we just did not have that energy on the pitch today. Not one person was able to give us that energy, that defensive solidity, that stalwart defending. And it proved to be costly. Now, in terms of how the game played out and how Chelsea were pretty decent in the first half despite going down 1-0, I think that's where the game changed, to be honest. The fact that we surrendered a really poor goal, Kepa unable to keep it out and deflecting it right into the path of Benzema. Despite that, I thought that if we would have come out of that game 1-0, I thought that we would have been in good position, because I don't think that Real Madrid did a lot in terms of how they hurt us. I just think that it came down to individual errors, which is the story of the season right now, really. Unable to score at one end and individual errors at the other. Just not very good in our boxes right now. And, but the one thing that I felt was really telling today was the fact that we just had nothing in the midfield, nothing. I thought N'Golo Kante gave us some good lift, bursting runs forward, but he couldn't get near, Real Madrid for the most part. Same thing for Kovacic, who I thought was awful today, just horrible. Just provided nothing in the build-up, wasn't really linking the play well, and you wanted him to be the shuttler, the guy to be the box-to-box presence on the team, and for the most part, he was just bypassed so easily. Enzo, again, the temperature of the match, I know he's playing World Cup finals and whatnot, he's playing in an unfamiliar role. I don't want to see him in that deep position. I thought he was good at building attacks from the back, getting us onto the front foot, but every time he got crowded out, it was a turnover. Every time we were asking him to make a defensive action, he was easily bypassed. And that was the tale of the game for me. Like, the midfield just did not give us enough of what we needed in terms of solidity and in terms of transition, in terms of defensive awareness, in terms of just breaking the lines in one way. We didn't get enough of that. And in the end, when you have two attackers that were relying on people to service them, and we don't get that, then the end result is this. Chelsea get their 1 and 2 opportunities, don't take them, but for the majority of the game, we had no control of it. And I thought that when we looked at that game, when we were looking at this game, analyzing it before the kickoff, I thought that was a good lineup. I thought that the midfield three made sense just because we had to match what, Valverde, Kroos, and Mudryk offered. But what we didn't do was really put them under a lot of pressure. What we didn't do was use our pace and power to beat them. We gave the game to them by not putting them under enough pressure, by not using our pace and speed of thought to really hurt them. For the most part, you saw Real Madrid popping it about 1-2 touch passes all over the pitch. No problems, effortless. And when Chelsea got into possession, the midfield were just not moving with the same sort of verve and energy. You take 1, 2, 3, 4 touches and turn it over. And that, to me, is quintessential. You have to, if you're playing a 3-5-2, you have to have a midfield that is engaged, that turn on, can play those 1-2 touch passes, run on, give us something going forward, thrust forward, give us something in the final third. And for the most part, between Enzo, Conte, and Kovacic, we just had a flat midfield that gave us nothing outside of just, taking up space and soaking up a bit of the pressure. But ultimately, you need more when you're playing at the Bernabeu and you're playing a 3-5-2. We just did not get that from our midfield today. But ultimately, I thought that the tactic and shape was right. We just did not have enough energy in it. Obviously, you did not want to go to the Bernabeu with this Chelsea team playing a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, or even a 3-4-3 for that matter. We certainly needed to have people occupying spaces, playing a little bit more solid at the back. It just meant that when we're sacrificing, an attacker to be more solid in the middle, then the end result is we just don't have the attacking thrust. But ultimately, it's pick your poison, and I thought that Frank chose the right one. This game came down to individual errors, and on another day, 1-0, we go back to Stamford Bridge, or at least in the tie, and you're thinking about what you can do, to equalize and get ahead. In the end, we just did not have enough of a link between the midfielders and our attackers. And for the most part, you can go online right now and you'll see everyone just chastising our attackers, their inability to be effective in 1v1 situations against Real Madrid, a very, very good team. And the problem that I had the game wasn't so much about Raheem Sterling and João Felix. It was more about the fact that we didn't have any real natural link. We didn't have anyone running onto those plays. We didn't have anyone coming in from the midfield to give us that little bit more of a thrust and, goal scoring intent. So every time we got on the break, it was either João Felix was trying to dribble past and get into 1v1 situations where he could, destabilize the back line, or, we're just running down the cul-de-sac. I thought Raheem Sterling was quite poor for the entire match. When we got into those areas and we're looking for the cutbacks, he wasn't really aggressive. He just didn't really have the intent of really trying to, impact the game that way. And, for a game like this where Raheem Sterling is, one of our senior players, he's played in these matches, he knows the temperature of these games, I just think that he had zero impact. And as much as he needed that link play, he needed somebody to be his provider. I just think that in situations like this where you have to take the game by the scruff of the neck, you need somebody that can just, use his individual quality to get us in the good areas. He was just not very good. And the one thing that you do rely on Raheem Sterling for is his pace, and it just seems like this entire year we've not seen much of it. He's not been able to test back lines with his pace. Every time he's dribbling now, it's very, very timid, and he's turning it over. His overall game just seems really lethargic, and for a guy that you're spending $300K a week on, he's just not giving us the quality that we need there. But honest and true, I thought that Chelsea did a good job in the first half of just containing Real Madrid, not giving them too many opportunities, and really just like staying in front of them and not allowing them to get into those half spaces where they can be most dangerous. I saw Benzema drop deep every now and then to get on the ball, and he was effective. Obviously, Vinicius Jr. was very, very effective on that right flank, on that left flank, our right, just getting into 1v1 situations against Fofana, using his pace and whatnot. And I thought that Fofana, for the most part, just could not come to grips with the temperature of the game. I thought that he was at fault for the first goal. I felt that his overall game just did not have any impact. He was, for the most part, caught on an island. I mean, it was the second goal that really, really just got my gears going. I mean, everyone's going to blame Kepa for having his, his Kit Kat fingers, as I saw Jem put on Twitter and whatnot, which is funny. But, ultimately, as a keeper, you're seeing that come through somebody's legs. You expect him to make a deflection or something like that, even just get something on it, goes right through his legs and right to Kepa, and he's stretched out and just can't get enough on it. But ultimately, I really felt like Fofana, you're a defender, man. Like, you cannot have the ball from distance go through your legs like that without having an action to try and at least defend it, block it, something. So just wasn't very good today. I don't feel like he came to grips with the temperature of the game, what it meant to play in the Champions League for Chelsea at the Bernabeu. It felt like, to me, the entire match, he needed to have some smelling salts just to get into the game and play with the intensity, match the intensity of the match. And, unfortunately, he did not have that game. He wasn't the only one, though. There was a lot of really poor performances on the pitch. Didn't think that Reece James had a very good game as well. He didn't get out of first gear, it felt like. He was not very much engaged a lot of the times. When we did get into attacking scenarios where he was on the right, I really felt like he was looking to come inside more than just like give us width on the right. And for more than a couple instances, especially in that first half, I saw him underlap, and then you'd see N'Golo Kante play in the wide positions out to the wide right, just hugging the touchline, and didn't really make a lot of sense to me for the most part, because again, you're still worried about the counter-attacking threat that Vinicius Jr. carries, and more than a few occasions where Reece James is in that central area on the pitch, we just left him 1v1. We left Fofana 1v1 with Vinicius Jr. with no real help, and it really did make the match very difficult to manage when you just have Vinicius Jr. 1v1 just like bombing down our right flank, their left. And he didn't really give us enough attacking intent when he did come inside as well. Like, for the most part, when he got into the box and whatnot, which is what you want to see him do because he's a great ball striker, he wasn't very good. He wasn't making good decisions on the ball. And there were a couple instances where he didn't get the call that he wanted, and then he's just late getting back. Like, instead of getting on his bike and getting back and playing with that real passion, he's like questioning the ref with his arms up and stuff like that. And it's like, you just can't have that in these games, man. You really need your best players to be your best players, and unfortunately, Reece James was not that today. He was, again, not the only one. There was a lot of poor performances, but you really expect him, the guy that you expect to be the next captain of this team, to really just use his ability to galvanize the side. And unfortunately, we just did not get that from him today. And of course, the worst thing that can happen just happens. Chelsea's still in the match, 1-0, and Cucurella comes on for Koulibaly, who I thought was having a decent match up until then. Just, again, not really any real defensive actions, but when he was called into action, Rodrigo, he gave him all sorts of fits and whatnot. And I thought he played a really, really good match, considering that Rodrigo is a tricky winger, and we're basically matched up with him 1v1 for the most part. Chelsea did not engage their wing backs a lot of the time to deal with the attackers. They were basically just dealing with the fullbacks and whatnot. It was fullback versus wingback for the most part, and 1v1 for their attackers. So you saw, obviously Koulibaly with Rodrigo, you saw Thiago Silva basically with Benzema, unless he dropped deep, and then you see someone like N'Golo Kante or Enzo pick him up. And then on the other side, you had Vinicius dealing with Fofana. And I don't know if I like that tactic a lot, but, I thought that Koulibaly was quite good at dealing with Rodrigo. Came off with a hamstring injury. And then, on comes Cucurella. And guys, if any of you have been watching my videos for any length of time, you'll know that I always say this. Players rely on their instincts on the pitch, and players will always act according to their make. If you're gonna have a defender in an offensive position, they're gonna think the game like a defender. If you're gonna have a midfielder in the defensive line, they're gonna think the game like a midfielder, not like a defender. And in the case of Cucurella, he's a wingback, fullback. Center back is his third best position, and we continually continue to use him in these roles where we expect him to be, as resolute as a defender, and he just does not possess the quality. It was only until after we went down 2-0 that we brought on, Chalobah, who rightfully should have been playing. If you're playing with a back three, he rightfully should have been playing after Koulibaly came off. And I just don't understand the selection there to put on Cucurella, who, again, his fault for the second goal, just does not, read the play well. He's pinching, he's thinking the game again like a wingback, like a fullback, overly aggressive. And, Chilwell is, again, having to compensate for the lack of a center back, and he draws red, and the game's pretty much dead from there. There's no way Chelsea were going to get back into that match no matter what they did. And for the most part, you can probably say that it's going to be very difficult for them to get back in the tie as a result. But for me, the boneheaded move was just down to Cucurella not being a defender, not being a center back, playing him in the left center back position when you have, Chalobah on the bench. And, in the end, it just bit us in the ass. Like, I've not seen one game this year where we played Cucurella as a center back, a left-sided center back, where he was as an imperious force. You're playing at the Bernabeu, man. Like, you can get away with that sort of like setup where Cucurella's playing, left center back, when you do expect to have a lot of the ball, when you don't have to worry about being defensively sound, when you want to be more on the front foot and you want somebody that can, get further up the pitch and initiate some of our attacking moves on that left flank there. But in terms of like a team that you're when you're trying to soak up pressure and you're trying to be like defensively solid, you cannot play Cucurella as your left-sided center back. Like really, let's be real here. He's not cut out for that type of football, and I think we just overused him in that role this year. He's not been good this year, but I think that a lot of that comes down to the fact that like we're using him in a role that is just not his best suited role. I don't want to see him as a left-sided center back when we have, Badiashile, Koulibaly, Thiago Silva, Fofana. We have, who am I forgetting here? Chalobah. Like, we have too many actual central defenders to be playing left wing back, left back at the left center back position. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Different if we're on the front foot and we have like 65-70% of the possession, but in games where we're not going to be dominating like that, I just don't want to see him on the pitch. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I think I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. Not really a whole lot of talking points. I thought our midfield was poor. I thought we had no link-up play between our midfield and our attacker. You would probably like to have seen João Felix play as a number 10 in this match, but just needs must. Obviously, you pick your poison. Frank chose to, play with a 5-3-2, and for the most part, it was right. But we just could not get anything going forward, and as a result, we had no teeth, actually, no attacking intent whatsoever. But with that said, what did we expect? We haven't been playing good football all year. We haven't played good football all year, and we expect to just turn it on with the young squad that we assembled at the Bernabeu in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. It doesn't happen like that. Good habits are formed over time. Good habits are formed with consistency. And right now, this entire season, Chelsea have just been, completely at odds with each other. We haven't really found any synergy on the pitch. We're looking to be solid defensively, and for the most part, we haven't been bad. But in pursuit to be solid defensively, we haven't found any attacking intent. Like, this is the worst season I've seen from Chelsea from an attacking standpoint. We just have nobody who can score goals. We have nobody that can create opportunities for us. And man, just so many poor performances from our midfield right up to our attackers in terms of like creating opportunities. I mean, this season just cannot come to an end sooner. It's just been awful. We have a lot of work to do in the off season. We have to bring in a striker. We have to bring in another midfielder, and God knows what else, another goalkeeper as well. Not that Kepa was horrible today. I don't think he was, but you know, he's just not the guy that we need going forward. The pursuit for 40 points is on. That's basically what it comes down to. That's all that we have left to play for right now, guys. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know what you think in the comments. I can certainly use a cheering up right now, as I am dejected after seeing Chelsea once again put in a poor performance, one of many this season. But guys, you know what to do. Regardless, keep the blue flag flying high, and up the Chels. Peace.